They'll be calling you a radical, so this is big news. By the way, stop watching your local news. Stop watching, well, television, period. It's pathetic. So this is dramatic news in our world, really the number one subject matter on the face of the earth. Nuclearism, Fukushima, for all over the world. So, as we're trying to find an answer for the waste, by law, we have to have an answer for the waste. But we ignore our own law. Congress, who knew? That was in 1987. Let's go back. Who knew in 1987 that just 14 years later the Constitution would be dead? It's called the Patriot Act. 20 years ago. It's supposed to be temporary, remember? Yeah. So, this is big. You can't make this up. So, Caltech is come up with a plan to get rid of the nuclear waste. As they say, the federal government, the United States taxpayer, the United States refuses to deal with it. By law, we were supposed to have it in Yucca Mountain or a repository 40 years ago. We pay a fine to these nuclear reactors. They're not public utilities. So as you know, Illinois has bailed the Nuclear Energy Crime Syndicate out, so they can keep the waste. The waste, I say, it's Soldier Field. Put it under Wrigley Field. They like it so much, they get to keep it. So, Texas, Holtec has bought a piece of real estate on the Carlsbad, New Mexico border to put the dry cast. First batch will be sent and offered. We got that out of the spent fuel pools, which it makes inside of a dry cast container is 10,000 times more safe than TikTok, Diablo Canyon. These people don't realize that this spent fuel is stored on site all over these things. They were not built for it. So they've had to expand inside these reactors, swimming pools on top of swimming pools on top of swimming pools. So, by law. So we pay a fine, and they're not public utilities. People like Bill Gates, Google, Apple, they're the people that own these things. And so we pay a fine to them. You, the taxpayer, you're giving them money because you didn't take care of the waste. So Hall, Texas will do it. They bought a place in Texas on the Carlsbad, New Mexico. WIP. By the way, so much of the waste is already going into WIP, has been for years. Remember when WIP blew up? I reported from this university when it blew up. It was a salt truck. No, it wasn't. It was a container from here, Peterson Fabricators. So, Texas finally wakes up and says, So they've been working a bill through their legislative process over the last several months. Shot down. They got it through. Bipartisan. No high-level wastes. But the language is very nuanced inside that bill. High level. Now, then they get into the language, Holtec, the NRC, get into the language of interim storage versus permanent storage. Now, stay with me. This is important, these nuances. So under interim storage, under the Patriot Act, it can happen. So they fired with the NRC. It's been working for years. For 5 years, it's been working through. The interim storage permit on this piece of real estate they've bought in West Texas next to the New Mexico border. So just last week, Texas gets this bill through. The Governor Abbott signs it. No high level. Now remember, no high level waste. This is the game they play in Utah too. We have the same law in Utah. We have the same law in Idaho. No high level. Does that stop them? No, it doesn't stop them. Ask Hunter's Point going into Idaho right now. Doesn't stop them. Because the feds will say under the Patriot Act, we do whatever we want. And this is both parties have done it. Both parties have done it. So, Trump did it. Obama did it. Biden's doing it. So, the NRC gives approval today. So they got the approval today. This is a big breaking story. The NRC has approved the Holtec pad on the interim storage facility in West Texas on the Carlsbad. It's a giant story, especially for you people in San Onofre. Now, Texas has passed a law. So, Texas, they hate the feds, right? It's kind of like here. Utah used to hate the feds. Well, that's all we hear. The lightning, feds, 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 feds. Yet they support the Patriot Act. Now, I mean, what? The Patriot Act, there is nothing more feds than the Patriot Act. Kills all constitutional. I mean, Constitution's dead via the Patriot Act, which was supposed to be temporary. I mean, kills every amendment, kills the Bill of Rights, kills it all. So, now what's going to happen? My guess is, because, well, it can't sit on that beach at Sinanofre, and I've been heavily involved in this. Well, if you haven't followed along, if you don't know, I like it. Gary's out talking on his $5 million. David Victor's out talking, blah, blah, blah. When Kevin Blanche does all the work, the dirty work. Hey, Gary got $5 million, so I got nothing. I got a bill for $1.8 million in leukemia. So, hear me out. This waste, it's got to go somewhere. I'm at what's his name of Hill says, "Oh, just leave it on site." No. These things in these spent fuels is a ticking time bomb, Diablo Canyon, and we've shut down well over 40 reactors post Fukushima. Would have been 60, except for New York City, Saskatoon, Como. So New York City, where are you going to put all your waste now? You bailed out 9 Mile Island, which is 3 times worse than 3 Mile Island. You bailed them out, Exelon. Same in Chicago. No, you bail them out. So we're not taking the waste out here in Utah. Why should Texas take the waste? Why should New Mexico take the waste? Why should we in Utah take the waste? Why would you and I? We don't make it. We don't make it. Well, Texas makes it. New Mexico makes it. Well, in their bill, there says, well, we can keep our own. New York, you keep your own waste. Why should you dump it on us in Utah? We've worked with you for years. And in Illinois, you bail them out. You know there's no answer for the waste at this point. You know, back then, we didn't know. You know now. Yet you continue to bail them out where there's no answer for the waste. So why should we take it here in Utah? We don't make it. So you put it at Wrigley Field. Put it at Soldier Field. Jim McMahon, who I know personally, called Soldier Field. He called the Chicago Bears the graveyard of quarterbacks. That's his words, not mine. I mean, I grew up with him. I know him. What an athlete, by the way. Oh, what an athlete. So, speaking of that, dig that out. Head up to the football stadium. What? Pete Rozelle, National Football League. Weber State. Very interesting. So, that's what they're doing. They want to play hot football potato with the nuclear waste. It's got to go somewhere. It's got to go out of the spent. Now, people freaking out at San Onofre, it's thousands. Where have you been for 40 years? It's been sitting in spent fuel pools for 40 years. How about Humboldt? It's been sitting there for 30, 40 years in canisters. Sura in Sacramento. So, I mean, come on, let's get real. What's going on in San Onofre? Yeah, it's on an earthquake zone. If it wasn't for Kevin Bryant, San Onofre would have never shut down. I'm the one that leaked that all in there. To Kamala Harris, where's she on all this? So, this is the number one story in the world. You're not going to hear it on any media. I see Weber State's got a geological professor out at the Great Salt Lake. We're measuring now. It's too late. I've been all over this lake decline since Fukushima happened. Where were you in 2012, 13? It's too late. You want to go, visit the corpse? So quit watching local news. Quit watching television. Get your weather report. Just Google the internet. You can find a weather, but they're poisoning your brains. They don't report any news. Academia doesn't either. Academia is a disgrace. So you're going to have to search and pick and choose. So this is a big story. So the NRC has approved it. It's a big story for all of you at San Diego. They approved it. Texas says no. Now they've also applied for a permit on the New Mexico side. They say they'll make a decision by January of 2022. So let's walk up to the only football stadium in the world named after a woman. Elizabeth D. Shaw. She left Weber State University in 1975 in an endowment when they merged with General Electric. That's right. I think $700 million in 1975. I think that's some money. So, of course, they've blown most of it. So, gigantic story. See the very sad news that Norm Macdonald has passed away of cancer. He's my age. I didn't even know he had cancer. So he'd been battling it for 10 years. So have I. I'm getting close. I'm in a 10-year program. Whew. I got sick in October, early October 2011. I'm down to the last month since I got it. My treatment started on 11/11/11. I went into the bone marrow transplant, 3 of them. Fukushima, Fukushima, Fukushima. So, it's been a hell of a 10 years, right? Well, 10 years is nothing in a nuclear spent fuel pool life cycle. These things are radioactive for hundreds and hundreds of thousands of years. Wouldn't the best option be to stop making it? Oh, we got the Tower of Babel in South Carolina. We're going to revisit it. Riva, Westinghouse, Chicago. They're all bankrupt. Over and over and over and over. They're all bankrupt. Yeah, we continue. It didn't work, did it? $29 billion we spent on the Tower of Babel? Let's turn this off so you don't get a copyright strike. So, I'll see you up here Friday. They play James Madison. Woo. That should be the biggest game here ever in the history of the stadium. So, it's a big story, giant story. I'll stay on it. You get the news. You get what matters from Kevin Blanch. You know, the rest of it, all we hear is Radio Gaga. So, this is a giant story. Well, you don't think nuclear waste and all these reactors all over the United States is a big deal? You don't know anything. Stay in tune.